Good morning, everyone, and happy Saturday. My name is Callie, and this is another weekend of Clarinets, Cats, and Coffee. In today's video, I'm going to give you 3 tips to help you get your reed to respond and play it the way that you want. Before we jump into that, I want to share some news with you on my end here. So I've been working hard this summer on creating this online course. It's not quite ready to launch as I have been very busy and it's hard to manage projects all at once. However, the concept of this course is centered around improving your clarinet tone. I'm going to include PDFs for every week of the course, and it's going to be all inclusive. You're going to improve every aspect of your playing, from your tone to your embouchure to your air support to finger dexterity. But it's all centered around creating good musicianship and a good sound throughout all of the registers. So there it is in a nutshell. I am still working on course material, but I will keep you guys updated, and those of you who have signed up for my mailing list, you will be among the first to know. All right, so I've got this reed here on my mouthpiece, and it's kind of been trying to get into my rotation since April of this year, but I'll show you a little close up here. It's pretty green. By that I mean it's pretty new. It hasn't really been played on very much. It's not a very responsive reed. And so I'm gonna do some really simple things to this to get it to respond the way that I want. Okay, so first I'm just gonna play it for you so you get an idea of just how annoying this is to play. So that takes so much effort, and while I do like to play on reeds with a little bit more resistance, this is just a bit too stuffy for me. So the first thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to show you guys this, is one thing that I've been doing for my reeds for a couple of years now, and that is I'm going to sand it. I've actually switched sandpapers to the finest sandpaper for this particular tip. So this is 2500 grit sandpaper, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to polish the back of the reed and the very top of the reed. I'm going to smooth it out so that it's completely smooth on all sides, because when I go to play this and when I feel this, it's really rough and kind of grainy. So let's go over to my desk and now I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to do circular motions here. Very, very gentle. I'm not pressing really hard. What I'm trying to do is just smooth it out. If we go back and forth like this, it's going to damage the tip of the reed, or at least in my experience it has. You can see it's already starting to come off a little bit, so it doesn't take very much pressure at all. So the back of this now is super, super smooth. And the next part I'm going to do, which a lot of people don't really think to do, is actually sand this top part. I'm going to try to avoid sanding the tip of the reed. I'm just going to stick to this part just to kind of seal the pores and get any roughness off of the reed. And it's just like so completely smooth. And just for fun, I'm going to do the sides too, because these are kind of a little bit rough. That's better. There we go. All right, it's nice and smoothed out, so let's go test it. I have this irrational fear that whatever I do is not going to work as well on camera as it does on my own at home. So we'll see. We'll see how this is. Hopefully it works. right, already that is significantly better, and it's starting to respond more in the way that I want. So I'm gonna sand it one more time, and then I'm gonna use my reed knife. So if you have a reed knife, or if you even have a tiny piece of sandpaper that you can roll up into like a itty bitty sanding block, or if you have a reed geek, they will all do exactly the same thing. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find a pencil. I'm gonna sand it one more time, and then I'm gonna use my reed tool. So in this case, I'm gonna use a knife, and I'm gonna take a little bit off right here, and I'm gonna take a little bit off right here. The heart of this reed is great. It sounds fine. It's just still a little stuffy. And so by thinning these upper edges here, for me, it'll just give a greater response and hopefully sound the way I want. So let's go back over there, do a tiny bit more sanding and a little bit of reed knife work. Now, if you don't want to do anything to the tip of the reed, you can also sand like this. But since the whole reed for me is just a little stuffy still, I'm just gonna do this all around. And already it's starting to get that little shine on the back of the reed. So that's what we want. Every aspect of your playing, from your tone to your embouchure to your air support to finger dexterity, is for it to get nice and shiny. And again, I'm not pressing very hard with the sandpaper. And before I do any work with my reed knife, ta-da, I am going to test this. All right, so I'm going to use my little Van Doren tool here. Ignore that it's kind of full of stuff. So I'm going to put a link below to this. It's actually super nice. If you don't like using a knife, you can also use this to work on your reeds. You would just like kind of erase a little here and erase a little there. That's kind of cool, but I prefer the knife. I just think I can get a little bit of a better results with a knife. So I'm just going to do a little bit here. And it's always better to do a little bit than a lot, because you can always take more off, but you can't put more on. There we go. That's pretty good. I'm going to leave this read at that with those two things. So smoothing out the backs, sanding it with super, super fine sandpaper. That's enough to smooth it, but not enough to really do any damage, in my opinion. And just a little bit of removing of cane from the top two corners of the reed, not scraping anywhere in the heart of the reed. The last tip that I have is actually better for reeds that are a little bit more broken in. And that is to, number one, make sure you always soak your reed with saliva before you play. In extremely dry weather, sometimes I'll even put my reed in water, so you could try that. But this really wild, crazy tip is actually kind of gross. So there's a part of the reed that sits over the table of the mouthpiece, okay? Don't do anything to this part of the reed. this part of the reed sits over the opening in the mouthpiece, okay? So in old dry reeds, even on new ones, but I notice it more on older ones, little like beads of spit can just kind of like sit on the reed, and for whatever reason, it has a really negative impact on how the reed responds and vibrates. And so you'll get this weird uneven sound. And so what you can do is actually, before you put your reed, there are two things, but the big thing is before you put your reed on your mouthpiece, just like make sure this part of the reed up here just has like a really thin layer of saliva over it. I know it's gross, but try it on your next old reed when it gets that random dry spot on the back. Just like a little saliva, put it on the mouthpiece, and you're good to go. All right, I know there are tons of little tips and tricks out there for reeds, so if you guys have anything that you do that works really well for you, be sure to leave them in the comments below so we can all learn from each other. Thank you all so much for watching, and don't forget, if you love my channel and you like what you see and you want me to continue creating these free videos for the clarinet community, please consider becoming a patron or a channel member to show your support and to get cool free stuff. Thanks so much for watching. Have a wonderful weekend, a good week next week, and as always, happy practicing.